everyone. This is Luca Majno. I'm back with Frank Gregory Ford. This is Global News Update on TLBTV, courtesy of the Liberty Beacon Project, where we give you complete backstage, up-to-date info as to the developments occurring in our world today. And we got to open courtesy of Mr. John McCain, or should I say USS John McCain. The ship that was named after a guy who crashed numerous multi-million-dollar fighter jets before crashing one to become a POW, has now had a collision that's under inquiry. Nothing against the military personnel on this destroyer, of course, as my friend writes on social media. My problem is with McCain. He wants wars with every enemy of Israel, including bomb Iran. His actions were questionable as a POW in Vietnam, and his father covered up the attack by Israel on the U.S. Liberty that killed 34 sailors and injured 171 others, quote, in an attempt to murder the crew and sink the ship and blame it on Egypt. Well, with that, I'm going to say hello, Greg, and welcome to the show, and I'm sure you have stuff you want to add on that one.
Oh, sure. You know, what can you say about all this? Is this history going full circle or what? Okay. I find the irony of that, pretty amazing. Is that yes, Wet Start Johnny, who actually started his jet fighter, and it actually caused a Zuni rocket pod. Was on the forest stall, if I remember correctly, and he was told, don't do this. Do not do that. Do not do a wet start on board the carrier because you could have a major problem. All right. And of course, Johnny McCain had to do that. He did a wet start. It cooked off a Zuni rocket pod, which fired several rockets into several of the planes on board the fire stall. It ruptured their fuel tanks. The fuel poured between the cracks on the flight deck and almost destroyed the forestall. The pictures I saw of the forestall was that it had a port list. It was on fire, and 79 sailors lost their lives as a result of the fire that John McCain started.
Right.
Now, this is the nice thing about all this is that, yes, he had dear old dad and dear old grandpa pull him out of that problem. Anybody else, they'd still be in Leavenworth, all right?
Right. Yeah.
But here we are, and surprise, his boat, the irony is this almost too much. His boat gets slammed into amidships, okay? I mean, hell, John McCain's more dangerous to U.S. Navy personnel, and now he's got a ship named after him, and he's still losing people, okay? What's the deal here? All right. Now, I'd like to find out what's going on here. They've had 4 ships run into, mercantile ships, okay, this year. All right. And what I don't know how many people we've lost. U.S. Navy personnel we've lost. Well, what is going on? These ships are, almost billion-dollar propositions, was supposedly state of the art. Now, and this always seems to happen at night. And I spoke to somebody about this, about the CIZ Combat Information Center and all the, upgrades and radar and so forth. Yes, that ship, if you leave it alone, it'll take care of you. All of these guided missile frigates will take care of you. But there's something going on. Whatever happened to people being on the bridge at night? All right. That's what I remember, people being on the bridge. And in this case, you've actually got computer systems that warn you when you've got ships approaching or when you have ships turning around and coming back on you, like what happened, week before last? Okay.
Yeah.
So, something like that on the Fitzgerald, I believe it was. So, it's really hard to figure out what is going on with our military, okay? And what are all these missile-guided frigates doing in that neck of the world, All right, I'd really like to know. Okay, so anyway, yeah, poor old John McCain. You know, he as if he doesn't have enough problems. His own ship is getting run into. You know, and sailors are dying on his ship named after him. So anyway, you know, what can you say about this week? What can you say about this last 6 months? All right. So that's my take on it. You know, and then on top of everything else, okay, we've got this thing with Trump. Okay, with Trump, we have a situation here. Remember when I said that if wherever the Bush family is involved, you've got high-level treason. Treason, Treason. All right. Hopefully, everybody understood that. It's treason. His father, George H.W. Bush's father, committed treason and attempted to overthrow the president of the United States. Okay, it was Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He tried to overthrow with a group of high-level, big-money oligarchs. They tried to overthrow. Let me see. Yeah, FDR on the eve of the beginning of World War II. They tried to overthrow him and replace him with a fascist regime. His father, H.W. Bush's father, was the number 1 supporter financially and in terms of management and business of Adolf Hitler, the Nazi Hitler. All right. 3 times they had to move on Prescott Bush to take business from him, from his businesses, because of war profiteering with the Nazis. All right. So what happens? Here we have the situation again. Here he is. Okay. You know, in my lifetime, I saw Kennedy killed by him. Kennedy was killed by the CIA in conjunction with the organized crime syndicate. You know, and of course, he denied ever being there. And yes, he was there. There's pictures of him now at the foot of the Texas Book Repository. And then what happens? Okay, I'm at the Western White House, and I start hearing, me personally, I was 18 years old at the time. I started hearing about somebody named George H.W. Bush and the CIA who's going after Richard Nixon, the president of the United States, because the president of the United States was trying to stop weapons of mass destruction from proliferating. The Bush family was making those weapons of mass destruction. And so what happens? We have the Watergate scandal. Right. Yes, we have the Watergate scandal. And surprise, what do I find out when I'm there at the Western White House? I also hear that it was the Bush family who was attempting to work with the Saudis. Oh, there's those Saudis again, to create an oil embargo on the United States and utilize the oil carriers, the super tankers, with Aristotle Onassis. Yes, that Aristotle Onassis, who married Jackie Kennedy. This is pretty strange. All right. Am I the only one of our listeners, on this show that sees that as being a little bit strange? All right, Luca, what do you think?
Right.
Okay. Yep. And so we have the president of the United States being forced to resign over Watergate. That was entirely the contrivance of the Central Intelligence Agency. I don't think Nixon didn't know that either. He was nobody peaceful. Okay, but that's the way history reads. All right, yes, we had a huge scandal. Okay, with Bush basically causing the president of the United States to resign. All right. So then what happens? I'm out in the Caribbean. Not more than a year later, I'm in the Caribbean, and I'm seeing, I'm doing drug interdiction, and I'm seeing Bush oil platforms, Zapata oil platforms off the K-Sal Bank, all right, and are taking loads of cocaine shipment from Colombia, courtesy the Bush family platforms, and shipping that cocaine to South Florida on the service helicopters for those platforms. All right? There's the beginning of the cocaine opioid epidemic, of which we have 150 people now ODing right now. As I'm saying this, somebody's shooting up and they're dying. Somebody's son, somebody's loved one, somebody's child is shooting up OD and ODing right now. Okay? So guess who brought that in? Okay? It's the agency. The agency, as started by Prescott Bush, yes, that Prescott Bush, Avril Harriman, the Brown family, the Brown family that somebody married, okay, into, the Bush family, of course, and from World War II on, and yes, George H.W. Bush was doing very bad things in World War II, killing his own people, killing more Americans, and then he set up the drugs to be sent to Chiang Kai-shek in Taiwan so they could put their own Chinese nationalist soldiers, courtesy of drugs coming into the United States. There's George H.W. Bush again. So we've got the world's largest drug dealing organized crime syndicate family. And what do I say, okay, after all of this? And I won't forget Iran-Contra either.
Okay.
Let's not forget Iran-Contra, okay? And what do I see? I see his idiot son, his half-wit son, with a phony baloney manipulation of an election, become the leader of the world and in essence create 911. Yes, it was George H.W. Bush who gave us 911. Please, if there's anybody that doesn't understand any of this, understand it's not going to stop. He's almost dead now, and he wants to create a fascist nation, all right? A fascist Nazi nation complete with concentration camps. If you don't believe they're concentration camps, call FEMA, all right? They're getting them warmed up right now. They're opening the doors of those camps right now, and guess who's cheering them on? George H.W. Bush. Right? So, and guess who he's going to overthrow very shortly? I want you have everybody turn up their radios and have everybody turn up the volume, all right, on their computers. Because guess what? He is in the process this week, George H.W. Bush is in the process of having this president removed, Donald Trump. He's going to have him removed. They're already talking about mental instability. Oh, didn't they say that with Nixon? Now, where did that all come from? Right. Mental instability, okay? And all of a sudden, Mr. Bush is concerned about racial relations. I mean, didn't we just spend 250 years trying to figure out racial relations and have the bloodiest war in global history, over racial relations? And here's Mr. Bush telling us how he was a fan and a member of racial relations when he resides over the organization that is aiming full, exactly, right now has the black culture, the Latin culture in its sights, as in black lives really don't matter. Okay, understand that. Guess who it is? It's the CIA aiming at provoking the situation to have Donald Trump removed. Okay, can I make this any simpler for everybody to understand? That's what we have here. Okay, and of course you see this idiot, the snake, Hillary Clinton. She leaves the country for the last 5 days. Did anybody talk about it? No, nobody said a word about it. And surprise, she got the word. Trump is in trouble, and they are moving. They have him declared mentally incompetent. All right, and the agency is doing everything it can to have him declared mentally incompetent. And who stands up with a very touching show of concern is George H.W. Bush with Barr and the imbecile helping him stand so he can talk about wonderful race relations now. Okay, right. So guess what? They're going to remove Trump. They're going to do it very shortly. They're going to remove Trump, and they're going to try to squeeze Hillary Clinton back in. Okay, if she isn't indicted and in prison, they're going to try to squeeze her in. So here's what I'm recommending for this show, Luca. Is this? Let's start a draft Bernie Sanders. Okay, is there anybody out there, that has both hemispheres connected in their brain? Okay, that would think that if Bernie Sanders had been president of the United States, elected fairly, like he should have been, that we would be in this situation right now, facing a CIA coup of the United States government, okay, and attempting to get the time frame of the George Bush crime family implemented, okay, to remove Trump, all right? And does anybody think that would have happened if we had elected Bernie Sanders? No. So let's draft that 1,200-year-old Jew and get him into office, all right? Hey, if we're going to have Israel calling the shots for this country, we might as well have Bernie Sanders, who has never changed his position since he was 17 years old, and it's always been to help the people of this country, to help the citizens of this country. He's never been guilty of doublespeak. He's never been guilty of subterfuge. Let's get Bernie in there, because I really don't want to sit here, and like I saw this morning, and see Hillary Clinton get accused of more white slavery, human trafficking, drug trafficking, illegal substances being transported into this country, all right, and her giving this big wide-eyed, I didn't know this look, that idiot daughter, throwing out some more phony baloney tears. Bill Clinton, more talk about Bill Clinton sitting on the tarmac in a plane with, what's her name, Lynch, the Attorney General Lynch, talking about cutting everybody loose on a special deal, okay? Put all this bullshit behind us. This is all bullshit, okay? The taxpayers of America are not paying for this crap anymore, all right? Get Bernie in there so he can actually run this country. Run this country, all right? Take care of the American citizens, okay? No, we're not going to get into a pissing match, a pissing contest with Pee-wee Kim Jong-un, okay? No, we're not going to do that. No, we're not going to have a bunch of our expensive military equipment all over the world getting trashed by slow-moving freighters. Enough of this crap. Enough of this nonsense. Get Bernie Sanders back into office so they can at least have an idea about how to run a country and run a government office, okay? Take care of Americans first. Americans first, all right? So anyway, that's what my take is. I mean, and if there's anybody that thinks, I'm just blowing a bunch of smoke here, whistling past the graveyard, whistling Dixie out my ass, hey, guess what? Check it out yourself. And everything we say, Luca, check it out, all right? Because that's what we have right now, and we better get a handle on things, or else everybody's going to get a first-hand look on what a real concentration camp looks like, all right? The agency's going to do it. Tell Mike Pompeo, the head of the agency, the CIA, knock off this crap, okay? Anybody that's selling drugs, pushing drugs in the CIA, fine. They can go push drugs in Leavenworth prison, all right? Restore some kind of integrity to our government. Enough of this endless war shit, okay? Enough of this phony baloney terrorism crap where all the 19 hijackers, in New York City were all CIA operatives, on payrolls from Boeing Corporation, and they were being trained at Pinole Park, okay?
Yeah.
Hey, and if there's any doubt, you can see this on 9/11 coming up very shortly. The MC of and the host of all this show is going to be talking about the 19 hijackers, who they were all CIA operatives. Abu Zubaydah, you're going to find out how he wasn't really the father of 9/11. You're going to see all that very shortly, all right? So that's my take on it. And yes, I would really like to have a couple of my good friends now have been giving this show some great information. They have disappeared. Surprisingly enough, they have disappeared. All right. Thanks to the agency, they have disappeared. So we need to make sure, all right, first of all, that we control this country, get it back on its feet. All right. Implement what it means to be an American. All right. All the things that we've talked about, all the promises that these phony baloney Obamas and all these Manchurian candidates have pulled up. We need to make sure that the office of the presidency of the United States is exactly that. It has integrity and honor and means what it says and says what it means. That's the most fearsome thing you can say in politics now, that will scare these politicians, is that somebody means what they say and say what they mean. So we need to get that implemented into our political scene right now. All right?
That would be really nice, but somebody as good as Bernie Sanders might end up like JFK or like, the people that really tried to make a difference because of the hold that these goons have.
Oh, well, hey, Luca, that's more hand-wringing, okay? We need to stop, straight talk and mean what we say. Oh, well, that could happen. They could do what they did to JFK. Of course they could. Of course they can. Just ask the Bush family. They did it, all right? And Carlos Marcello, they did it, all right? I know the accountants of the Marcello mob, the Southeast mob. They did it. They know what they're talking about, okay? The deal is, hey, we're teetering. We're probably past the tipping point right now in saving this country. And so let's face it, okay? If we don't say it and get out of this hand-wringing thing, acting like Mr. Turtle here, this country is going down. Hey, look what Obama did for 8 years. Look what he did. I don't know what he did. I can't figure it out other than strengthen all the chief executive orders that Bush implemented. Obama came along and strengthened them. All right. He came along, all the surveillance laws. They're 4 times stronger when they were under that idiot Bush, thanks to Obama. Manchurian candidate. Nobody can still figure out where he was even born. All right. He was the Manchurian candidate.
Yeah, I think what Greg is trying to say is that what we really need is for everybody to wake up. It's for the American people to wake up and to join hands and realize that we're the 99% and they're the less than 1%.
I'm not trying to say it, Luca. I'm saying it.
Well, that's what we've been saying for how many shows now? Yeah.
Yeah, you're damn right. Well, hey, what has it done? We've got a president that now is being set up to be replaced because he's quote mentally unstable, and they're already launching an investigation to find out if he's mentally stable. Okay, understand me? This means coup. It means one thing: coup. COUP. Okay, so that's what we have here. And we don't have any time. It's already been put into place. It's solidly locked in for 8 years. Henry Kissinger is going to see this thing through. George Soros. Don't think George Soros isn't waiting in the wings. All right, this is what's going to happen. Okay, so I'll tell you what. We need to do this right away. We need to have somebody, either Bernie Sanders, okay, and he needs to get into office, draft Bernie, and then we'll have as his running mate. I just thought up the dream team that everybody needs to know about. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna bring in Bernie Sanders as president of the United States, and then as his vice president. All right, everybody, hold on to your seats, okay? We're bringing in Jesse Ventura as vice president. That Jesse Ventura. Mr. WWF. All right. Hey, Mr. Hollywood, Mr. Flash, Mr. Kick Some Ass. All right.
Right.
Hey, can you imagine anybody intimidating Jesse Ventura? I can't. All right. You know, another former Navy man. Okay, that's what we need as Vice President of the United States. Oh, gee, well, that would mean that would replace Mike Pence. Oh, excuse me while you go have a good cry over that one. Okay. Gee, that means we want to give Hillary a chance to break the glass ceiling. All right. Oh, gosh. No. We need somebody with knowledge, understanding, and determined to help the American people. And then we need some real muscle, okay, to handle all the other aspects of the presidency. And Jesse Ventura is quite capable of doing that. Mm-hmm. So there we go. Does anybody have a problem with that? Okay. And then for the NSA, we're going to fire all those, you know, politically correct clowns that they have in there that keep, you know, tightening the screws on everybody in terms of surveillance. We're going to bring back Ed Snowden. Yes, Ed Snowden is going. If I have anything to say about this, Ed Snowden is going to be the director of NSA.
There you go.
Anybody have a problem with that? Okay. And who's going to run the CIA? Julian Assange. Yes. My counselor and associate here said that. Julian Assange is going to come in. You don't think he'll take the job if it's offered to him? Surprise, he will. You bet. Hey, I would really like to have somebody in the intelligence field that's actually getting intelligence for the United States of America, to protect the United States of America. You know, not some Weasley organized crime syndicate drug addict like Hillary Clinton. You know, let's face it. We need Julian Assange. Hey, who's giving us all the dope on Hillary Clinton? Who's giving us all the dope on the Bush family? It's Julian Assange, who saved this country from more disasters than anyone else. Julian Assange. That's why they don't want him coming out of his two-office flat, you know, two-room flat Ecuadorian embassy. Hey, he should have his Langley office and be in charge of the CIA. All right? I think we just settled all of this country's problems very quickly.
Yes.
We
really did, yes.
It's not that tough. It really isn't. Not, you know, just get proven winners, put them in the position. I mean, Donald Trump, what did he ever prove? He got into the position and that ham-fisted snake oil salesman is gonna, you know, bring this thing crashing around everybody's ears. All right? That's what we need. We need to get people that have proven track records, like Bernie Sanders, Jesse Ventura, Ed Snowden. Oh, wait, you're going to tell me those people aren't courageous, don't have enough guts to do this job, don't have the brains to do this job? Sorry, they do. I know they're not compromised. I know they haven't been sleeping with little boys or sleeping with little girls or injecting heroin into their veins or stealing money from some orphanage somewhere. Hey, sorry about that, folks. Hey, I just put together the dream team to save the United States. Let's do it. Anybody has any questions? Call me. I'll be glad to tell you all about it. All right? Call me.
Absolutely. So, Greg, we're going to finish this show really quickly with a snapshot and probably some of the best images that we've seen on the net. And it's basically to make people think as it becomes my turn to give a little bit of truth to the show, as Greg has.
Make people think.
Yes.
You know, you mean like George Bush's Leave No Imbecile Behind education program?
No.
That we're on the second or third generation of?
No, we need to really wake people up.
That's right.
The
Let's
Earth,
do it, Luca.
the Earth is not dying. The Earth is not dying. It's being killed. And the people who are killing it have names and addresses. That's my first one for tonight. And God has cared for these trees, saved them from drought, from disease, from avalanches, and 1,000 tempests and floods, but he cannot save them from fools. And the fools are the ones that are running this country. And Greg is right there to tell us about the fools that are running this country every single time we do this show. And I just really wanted to touch on education very quickly. A really, really great quote from Ezra Pound says, "Utter originality is, of course, out of the question." And this brings us down to, how we've been dumbed down. And this is really important to me to say. And I found these quotes and these next few slides that I'm going to show. Again, utter originality is, of course, out of the question. And if you look at what Bertrand Russell said in 1953, from a little bit further up than the red words diet and injections, he says that education should aim at destroying free will so that after pupils have left school, they will be incapable through the rest of their lives of thinking and acting otherwise than the schoolmasters would have wished. Diet, injections, and injunctions will combine from a very early age to produce the sort of character and the sort of beliefs that authorities consider desirable. We don't have to read the rest because the next slide shows us this thing called nursery, which is purified water for babies, and the first thing you see is fluoride added. Okay, hang on a second. You go to see what fluoride is, and it says FYI, sodium fluoride, NaF, is a constituent of most toothpastes, as we know, and has been used as the active ingredient in insecticides, wood preservatives, fungicides, and rat poison. It works on rats by causing lesions in the stomach, which eventually result in the rat bleeding to death. Okay, so this is what they're using on us. And if anybody has any questions, just do your research. Don't believe us, as I always keep saying. You are not born dumb. You've just been dumbed down. And as Greg says, and he just said it on this show tonight, good news is that there's never been a better time to self-educate, to learn to think critically, because corrupt governments and greedy corporations hate an informed and intelligent populace. The next slide, which I really love, says, the problem with the world is that the intelligent people are full of doubt, while the stupid people are full of confidence. Something to think about, okay? But as I always say, and I've said this myself without even knowing that this quote existed, I always believed the greatest divide in the world today is not religion or politics. It's between people who care and people who don't care. Okay? It's that simple. And the people who do care, on my next slide, talks about truth. Okay? The truth will set us free. We've always heard that. But the truth has to do with waking up from the lies, the culture of the lie. And this is dedicated to you, Greg, because this is so true. This is what we do in our shows. And becoming truth itself. You practice truth to the degree that everything you say acquires the depth of truth. And eventually, everything that you speak becomes so. It becomes truth because you have become truth yourself. That comes from Don Miguel Ruiz, and that's for you, Greg. See?
Thank you.
And you speak of truth, okay? This is probably the best one and the most powerful one yet tonight. We are unorganized truth fighting an organized lie. See, and this is the problem. The lie has been organized for hundreds and hundreds of years. And what you see here in the next slide is a steak right in the middle of the table, and the steak is cut out like Africa. And you see the people that sit down to cut the steak up. You have Israel, you have France, you have US, and you have Britain. They're all sitting there waiting to get their piece of Africa. And this is only one country in this instance. And this is exactly the way they do things. My last slide of the night comes from the movie The Mission, which is a movie I think everybody should see if they want to see what the plight of the indigenous people, and in this case of South America, against the authorities and the powers of Spain and Portugal.
Portugal.
Okay, and I want to read you the writing that I have on this one picture of Robert De Niro and the indigenous child who's turning his back on him. Once you have seen the plight, once you have seen the injustices, once you have seen the treason, once you have seen the deceit, I must fight. Once I have witnessed the destruction, once I have witnessed the lies, once I have witnessed the cruelty, once I have witnessed the pain, I must fight. Once I felt their anguish, once I felt their loss, once I felt their trauma, once I felt what they feel, I must fight. I give my talk to them. I give my walk to them. I give my writings to them. I give my life to them. And that's how I want to finish Snapshot tonight, because this is essentially what we're doing. Greg and I are giving our life to you, to everybody watching this show, because Greg is giving his heart and soul and what he has been living for the last 30 years, the lies, the betrayal, the deceit that he's been living for the last 30 years or more. And now it's the time to speak truth. Now it's the time to really wake people up. So this is it. It's either do or die at this point. So I agree, Greg. We should probably look at Bernie Sanders.
Well, Luca, the Guarani are still fighting to make things right. They are still in the tri-state area in Iguazu Falls. They're still fighting to make things right.
Yeah.
All right. And here's where something that everybody, you forget thinking, you better start acting. Acting right now. Call your worthless, pimped out representatives and tell them, look, you don't do this. I don't care what you think you should be doing. If you don't do this, you're fired. You're right in the unemployment line with the rest of the clowns. All right. This is the deal. Okay. And here's something for America to think about. We just saw what happened in the last 6 months, all the subterfuge, all the accusations, all the phony baloney investigations. Robert Mueller, the biggest piece of human garbage ever to hold a political office, as in the FBI, head of the FBI. Here he is leading an investigation into the President of the United States.
Right.
Robert Mueller, all right, the man who repressed the 9/11 attack, who repressed all the evidence about torture, who my personal reports went to on intelligence going on, in Iraq. Yeah. And all of a sudden he comes out of here and they're acting like he's a venerated saint of some sort. Okay. Here's the deal, folks. We ain't going to be around. We've been here 6 months. You think we're going to last another 3.5 years with the same buffoonery, the same Roman carnival that's been going on these last 6 months? All right. It ain't going to happen. There's nobody on God's green acres in this country that's going to say, yes, we can survive 3.5 more years of this stuff. We need to get it straightened out right now. Right now. I don't care what's PC. I'm tired of all this crap PC stuff. We need to get leadership that the American people want. It's all for the American people. We're talking about our country. We're not talking about Britain. We're not talking about France. We're not talking about North Korea or anywhere else. We've got to get our own acts together, our own show together. All right? Period. All right? We've got to quit sending militaries around the world that do nothing but run into each other and sink each other. All right? We got to stop trying to threaten these other countries that, with good cause, point to us and say, yeah, we saw what you did to Libya. We saw what you did to Iraq. We saw what you did to Syria. All right? The whole Middle East. Right. That's what we got to quit doing. All right? We're not going to make it another 3.5 years. And boy, when it comes to cleaning up this government office, I'm just the guy to do it. All right?
And we're getting him going again. We're getting him going again on another rant, so we got to stop. Time out. We'll see you again on the Muppet Show. I mean, on Global News Update. Thank you, Greg. Thank you so much for everything you're doing and for your wisdom.
I'm saying goodbye, Luca. All right? And I want everybody to research everything I say and act. Don't
Yes.
sit there and cogitate, meditate, or even about it. Act. Act.
Have a good night, Greg.
Luca.
Have a good one. We'll see you next time.
All right. You too, Luca.